afternoon to all of you, my students. Um, now, children, uh, today I am going to uh, talk about uh, 2025 A-level examination and about the subject logic. Um, so, uh, this discussion or this introduction is valid and relevant for students who are facing the examinations in 2025 and who are uh, expecting to take logic as a subject. I have already done a little introduction uh, for Sinhala medium students. This introduction is relevant to English medium students. Um, so, in this little discourse, I will be talking to you about the 2025 A-level examination and about the subject logic and why should you choose logic as a subject for your A-level examinations. Um, and I will be also providing you with a little sample teaching so you could decide for yourselves whether you want to join my classes or not. Uh, so those that is the basic uh, understanding or the content or the overview of this discussion. Um, so um, in the description box, I have provided you with my um, phone number, uh, so you can always call me uh, and ask questions regarding the classes and also how to join the classes. Classes are uh, usually and generally at the moment are conducted via Zoom. So um, use that phone number in the description box uh, to know about the classes, and if you want to join the classes, use that phone number. Um, Call me or SMS me. Uh, don't WhatsApp me. Just call or SMS me. Here's the number. Uh, I will put it here also. Here's the number that you should call or SMS me. Here's the number. Um, Not 7763888923. That is the number you should uh, call me. Should you decide to take the classes, call me or send me a SMS uh, to join the classes. Uh, so today our discussion is a brief introduction into the subject logic, and should you decide to choose logic, um, what are the benefits you would gain from choosing logic as a subject. Now, this discussion is relevant for students who are facing the examination in the year 2025. So, 2025 level logic. Now, I have already um provided, or I have already provided the video for the Sinhala medium students. You can watch that also in my YouTube channel. Um, this uh, video is primarily aimed at English medium students who are thinking about doing logic for their A level examination. Now, now let's see what sort of the examination is the A-level examination. You already know. Now, if you are deciding to do A-level examination in year 2025, that means you must have done your O-levels by now, and expecting results, or there may be students who have already done O-levels and who have already got their um, examination results and maybe doing um, A-level examinations uh, after some time. That is also a possibility. Whatever your preference is or whatever your condition is, this discussion is relevant. This discussion is also relevant even if you are doing A-levels in 2023 or 2024. Okay. Now, students who are doing the A-level examination in 2023, so they will be facing the examination in uh, I'm not exactly sure about the timeline, but they will be facing the examination in few months. Even if you are a student who is doing uh, A levels uh, in logic in the year 2023, you can still join our classes. Those classes will be conducted tailor-made to your requirements. Um, Even if you are doing 2024, you can still join our classes. Uh, uh, those classes will be conducted uh, suitable or tailor-made to the requirements of the students who are facing the examination in 2024. Uh, Even though I have given the title as 2025, these students can also join our classes. They want to join these students, but they will be provided with separate classes for 2023 and 2024 students. Separate classes uh, tailor-made to their requirements. Our classes are always tailor-made to the requirement of the students. Mostly now you know if you have already chosen, I'm talking about students who are facing the examination in these years, 2023 and 2024, you already know that the number of students who are doing A levels in English medium are very rare, not a very big number. The number of students who are doing logic as a A-level subject in English medium is a very rare thing. A very small number of students are doing. So, most of the time, when the students ask, the classes tend to be individual or with very few people. That is something you will have to remember. Uh, so, uh, as I already told you, this the number of students who are facing the A-level examination in English medium in any subject is a very rare occurrence, and still I want to give them the opportunity, the same opportunity that is available to single medium students. That's why I conduct classes in English medium as well, even the number is a very small one. Uh, so still students have the opportunity. Those are the things you will have to remember. So when I am providing this discussion, I am mainly focused on students who are doing the logic afresh, as a fresh start. Uh, who have no knowledge about this subject. So, the sample teaching I provide you today will be relevant to students who are already doing. For the students who are already doing, it is relevant to students who are already doing logic as a subject, the sample teaching. So today, our timeline or our uh, discourse will run through like this. First, I will provide you with a brief uh, discussion about A level and A level logic subject and why should you choose logic as a subject for your A level examinations. Then uh, I will uh, provide you with a brief overview of the subject and the examination paper. Then I will provide you with a um, brief teaching sample so you can decide for yourself whether you like to take my classes or not. So, first thing is logic as a A-level subject. Why should you choose logic as a A-level subject? Now you know um, there are uh, mainly those who are taking logic as a uh, A-level subject are art stream students. So the chances are almost certain if you are deciding to choose logic that you are thinking about doing your A levels in the art stream. Okay, so there are more than 30 subjects in the art stream. Out of those 30 subjects, why should you choose logic um, as a subject? That is the first part of our discussion. Why should you choose logic? Now, you know, as I have already told you, there are about 30, more than 30 subjects in the art stream. Out of those 30, why should you choose logic as a subject for your A level examinations? That is the major discussion here. First, I am going to discuss. Now, uh, when it comes to A-level art stream subjects, they are generally divided into few categories. There are, on one hand, in one category, there are core subjects. Okay, core subjects. Then there are languages. Then there are um, religious subjects. Then there are aesthetic subjects as well. I hope you can see the board. Uh, there are aesthetic subjects as well. Aesthetics. Now for core subjects, examples are logic, political science, history, history, geography, media. ICT is also a subject uh, that comes under um, core subjects. Uh, then economics, there may be others as well. So, but these are the main core subjects. Under languages, you have Sinhala, Tamil, English, and numerous other subjects as well: Japanese, Russian, Malay, um, French, numerous subjects. Under religious subjects, you have Buddhism, uh, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, and subjects like Greek and Roman civilization, Buddhist civilization, and the aesthetics you have arts, dancing, music, like that. So you can see logic is a core subject. Okay, core subject. Now, uh, if you are choosing logic, most of the times the chances are also your other two subjects will also be in the curriculum, especially if you are English medium student, in the subject of the uh, in the list of core subjects. Generally, students take logic, okay, then they take political science or geography, and they are also the English medium students tend to take English. The subject is English, but the normal nomenclature that goes on is English literature, and how they also choose English as well. So these are the subjects the English medium students tend to choose most of the times. Okay, I hope you can see my writing, but uh, my pen is little low, so I hope you see properly. Uh, let's see as we go on. Anyhow, um, now, uh, so the chances are very high. Other two subjects you will be choosing as English medium students, most probably from the core subjects, and most probably uh, English literature. Okay, the chances are very high. Uh, the English medium students who choose uh, logic, most of the occasions they don't tend to uh, have recourse to aesthetics or religious subjects. So, any other languages other than there may be students who are doing foreign languages like French, German, like that, Japanese, like that. Uh, Anyhow, now my discussion will focus on why should you choose logic as a subject for your A-level examination, and for this purpose I will single out several subjects, okay, and say these the subjects I will single out are the subjects that the students will most of the times uh, choose as English medium students for their A-level. Uh, you have logic, then you have political science, then you have history, then you have media, uh, uh, then for the sake of the argument, let's say Sinhala. Another subject most students take geography, and let's say English literature as well. Okay. Now, generally the numbers are history is done by uh, around 20,000 students every year. Logic about 10,000 students. Political science about 50,000 students. Media about 20,000 students. Sinhala about 70,000 students. Geography about 40,000 students. This number is about 1,000 those who are doing English literature as a subject. So, what is the edge? Okay, what is the edge that you will have if you choose logic as a subject. This can be easily explained to you through statics. Okay, statistics. Statistics is a area we will also study when we are uh, talking about logic and scientific method. Statics is also an area we will discuss. So now what happens is here. Now if you know, you may already know how students are selected to uh, government universities. Um, they are selected. The students are selected to government universities through search for marks. Okay, through search for marks. Now, other thing I want to highlight to you is some of you who may be doing English medium may be thinking of uh, going abroad for your higher education, or you may be thinking of joining a private institute and conduct a foreign degree, study for a foreign degree offered by that private institute in Sri Lanka. Whatever your uh, path for your higher education, you will still require uh, you will still require uh, to have passed the A-level examination. That is the requirement. Whatever the path you will choose, you will have to uh, get past A-level examination. That means at least three S passes for your A-level examination. Whatever the path you take, you still need to pass the A-level examination. That is a requirement there. So um, now we were talking about why should you choose logic as a subject. Here, what I am explaining to you have the major relevance if you are thinking of joining a government university in Sri Lanka after your A-level examinations, because it is in the government university system that the search score is most relevant. So uh, when when students are selected for government universities in Sri Lanka, they are selected through the search score mark that each individual student obtains. Um, so, uh, if you want to make a place, or if you want to take a place in the government university, especially in a green uh, sort of area that you need to study. Now, many students have their expectations. They sometimes, most of the time, they want to, if they want to uh, be considered for government universities, uh, they want to select a particular faculty, okay, or a particular area of study. That always depends on the research score you receive at the examination. Okay, let's see how such score is calculated. Okay, now I say history is done by about 20,000 students. Now the search score is calculated like this. Now, there are 20,000 students who would face the examination. After the examination and after the marking is done, the marks of all the 20,000 students will be uh, added up or will be yes, will be added up or will be uh, yes, will be added up, then divided by the number of the students who face the examination. Let's say history was uh, done by 20,000 students. After the marking process is over, the marks of all the 20,000 students will be summed up. Okay, summed up, then divided by 20,000. Okay, so then you get the average. Okay, then you get the average. Okay, then you get the average or the mean of that subject when you sum up the marks of all the students and divide that number by the number of students who face the examination to get the average or the mean. So generally, since history is a relatively easy subject, uh, the average tends to be higher. Okay, the average tends to be higher. Let's say these are not exact numbers. For the sake of argument, I take these numbers. Let's say average is 50 for history, then we have political science. About 50,000 students face political science at the examination. And other thing is you need to remember is when research score is marked, there is no separate column for English medium students or Tamil medium students. All the marks are calculated regardless of the medium. That is something you need to remember. Whether you face the examination in English medium, uh, you are still counted among Sinhala medium students for search score purposes. Okay, so let's say political science. Uh, then the average, since it is little harder, let's say average is about 45. Okay, average is about 45 for uh, political science. Then media is a easy subject. Let's say that average is about 55. Okay, Sinhala is also much easier. Then their average tend to be 70. These are not exact numbers at the real examination. I am taking them for the sake of the argument, but it has a relevance because average always tend to be higher for easier subjects because students score higher for that subject. Geography little harder, so let's do that 50 English again little harder. Let's do that 40. Now, when it comes to the hardness or the difficulty of the subject, logic tends to be in the highest index. Okay, for that reason, the average, okay, by average I mean when all the uh, marks of the students who are facing the logic the examination are summed up and then divided by the number of the students who are facing the student examination, you get the average. So average for logic tends to be very low, okay, very low because the subject is little difficult. For that reason of the subject being little difficult, you get the average little lower. Okay, you get the average little lower for that reason. Okay? For that reason, you get the average little lower. Okay, so what we need to understand here is the average tends to be little lower for uh, logic. And then uh, to explain this further, I will take two students. One is A, one is B. Let's say A is doing history and he scored 80 for history. Okay, and B is doing logic and he scored also 80 for logic. Then how Z score is calculated is as I am going to explain. Now this is the average or the mean. Z score is calculated how much the particular student's mark is deviated from the mean or the average mark of the subject. That is how such score is calculated. Okay, it's a matter of deviation. How much the particular student's mark is deviated from the average mark of the particular subject. Or here you can see the student who got 80 for history, his average, sorry, his mark is deviated, his mark is deviated by 30. Okay, 30. Then easily see 80 subtracted by 50, you get 30. But look at the logic student. He has also scored 80, but the average mark of that subject is 30. So he is deviated by 50 marks. Always research score is better when your particular mark is deviated further from the average or the mean. You can see here student who is doing logic is deviated by 50 points or 50 marks. The student who is doing history is only deviated by 30 marks. But both their marks are similar. But the edge provided by logic is higher because of this deviation. We call this in statistics standard deviation. Okay, standard deviation. Such score is calculated using the procedure called or using the mathematical calculation called standard deviation. How much you deviate from the mean of the subject. You can see further you deviate from the mean, higher your set score is. Okay. Now I only took these numbers out of my general thinking, but it has a relevance. This is generally how the marks tend to be uh, get up there in the average or the mean mark. Okay, always when it comes to, let's say, about all the 30 subjects or 30 plus subjects in the art stream, the average always in the practical examination as well, the average tends to be lower always for the logic subject. Okay, that is the actual position. Okay, not an imaginary position. This is an imaginary position, but with the practical relevance. In the actual position, like in this sample I provided, in the logic subject, it is that the average tends to be, okay, the average or the mean mark tends to be lowest for all the subjects in the art stream. So if you remember, if you score well, if you score a or B for your logic, that has the particular edge over all the other 30 plus subjects. Okay, now you can see both the students get the same marks for the for the two subjects, but whose set score is higher is the student who is doing logic that the search score is higher because he has deviated uh, further from the average mark. Now this Z score was introduced in early 2000s for this purpose, that is to standardize the marks received by the students. Now, before such score was introduced, the students' uh, position and the marks were calculated on raw marks. Okay, raw marks. Let's say I will provide an example that as well. Let's say two students A and B. So A got 80 for history, uh, then he got 50 for logic. This one got 70 for history, uh, and both of them got 60 for political science. Now, what happened under the previous regime was uh, only the raw marks were calculated. Okay, only the raw marks. So here 190. Here, say like this. Okay. Now, under the previous regime, under the previous method, under which the students' raw marks were used for the calculation of the eventual position, you can easily see he prevails here. He gets the higher position or the higher ranking uh, because in raw marks, his position is higher. In raw marks, his position is higher. But when under the search score regime, because he has scored higher for logic, the difficult subject, even though his raw marks are lower than A, he tends to get a search score higher. There is a possibility that he may get a search score higher than A. Okay, that is something you have to remember. What is the uh, story here, or what is the thing that you should take into consideration here is if you choose logic, since the average or mean for logic tends to be lower out of all the subjects, if, but remember there's a caveat here, only if you score very highly, okay, remember if you score highly, uh, like an A or B, your search score will go higher up. Okay? Your search score will go higher up. Uh, let's say uh, for logic, you scored an A. That A is more valuable, okay, in the matter of search score that A is more valuable than an A used for media or signal, even for job work. That is what I have to. That is the thing I have to summarily stress up to you. A or B, let's say A mark used for logic has a higher value than the A used for any other subject in the arts field. That is the uh, final say, or that is the summary you need to take into consideration from what I have provided here. The either A or B used for logic has a higher value in such score than any other subject you will uh, find in the arts field. That is the gist, that is the summary, that is the main idea you need to take into consideration. Okay, that is why logic is important as a subject, because the higher search score value you will acquire by doing logic, higher search score value. So that is how I explain that thing. Then I need to explain to you another thing. Now just wait for a moment. I will take a little breather here and come back. So let's get back to our discussion again. Uh, Now, as I was explaining to you, if you are a student who is doing uh, who is expected to do logic as a A-level subject in English medium, the circumstances are very high. You are also expected to follow a law degree, for your higher studies, because the students who tend to do A levels in English medium, and especially the ones who are following logic or who are expected to take logic as a subject, they tend to uh, or they expect to uh, study law as a subject. So uh, here are the paths. Okay, here are the paths that are available to you to follow a law degree. Here are the paths. On one hand, you have the government universities. Okay, government universities. On one hand, they are under the government universities. Uh, there is the Faculty of Law in University of Colombo. Okay, the Faculty of Law in University of Colombo. Then the Department of Law, Department of Law in Jaffna University. Then there is the Department of Law at Sivagini University. Here in Colombo University, in the law faculty, about 400 students are selected for a law degree. These two combined, there will be about another 100. So the number of positions, seats available in the government university structure for following a law degree based on uh, A-level results is about 500 positions. These are based on only the A-level results. So if you want to get into this 500, remember the highest demand is for law. Okay. Now, if you are an art stream student, you know there are other degree programs that you can follow or study. Uh, if you get the relevant search score and the relevant island rank marks, there are other courses that you can follow also. But out of all the courses for art stream students, the highest demand is for law degree. Okay, highest demand is for a law degree in either of these three uh, universities. Okay, so if you want to get into one of these institutions, you will have to be you will have to be in the top 500 because highest demand is for law degree. So your research score has to be highest if you want to get into a law degree. Okay, if you want to get your research score or your island rank at least must be within first 500 in the art stream. Okay, remember that is a requirement. A-level examinations are very competitive, and the admissions for local universities are very competitive, especially for uh, law degrees. The admission is very competitive. Only the highest island rankers will have the chance to study law. That is the general rule here because the law is the highest demanded subject. Law is in highest demand. That is the reason. So if you want to get into any of these institutions, your search score has to be highest. That means your search score has to be, or your island rank has to be within at least first 500 in the art stream. That means your search score has to be the highest. So that is the reason that you will have a certain edge or a certain jump start if you do logic because by doing logic you can get a higher set score and a higher island rank. A top island rank you can get if you do a subject like logic more easily than any other subject in the art stream because if you score higher, remember that's a requirement there. If you score higher for a subject like logic, like if you score A, okay, that A is the one that is responsible, that will give you, that will open the door for these institutions. I know this one is the most prestigious one, highest in the demand. This is the dream of any student who is doing uh, art stream to get into this faculty. That is the dream or the expectation of every student to get in there. That doesn't mean these two are below par, they are perfectly okay. But this is the most prestigious one, the Faculty of Law, University of Colombo. Now, you know Why logic is important? Because logic tends to give you the highest result score out of all the subjects. So if you choose logic as one of the three subjects, that gives you that particular edge that you require to get the higher search score and to get the highest island rank possible. That is the requirement and that is the path also. So I mentioned that. So if your dream, if your goal is to do law in a government university, you need to have the highest research score possible and you need to be within the first 500 in the island rank in the art stream. To the best way to get there is to do logic because it gives you the chance to get the highest set score possible and puts you at the top of the list in the art stream. Uh, Remember, only if you get a good result. Okay, that is the requirement. You have to get the A there. To get there, you have to get the A, and that A will open the door more easily than any A mark you will get for any other subject. That is the thing I wanted to explain to you. So keep that in mind when you choose subjects. Then the other thing is, what are the other paths that you could do law or follow a law degree in Sri Lanka? There is the Open University. But remember, here is also A-level is relevant because uh, to apply for the law degree in the Open University, you have to have at least, as I remember, three S passes or three C passes. I can actually remember the actual requirement, but you need to pass the examination. I think it's three C's as I remember. Um, so the and there is an admission test also in the Open University. You have to have three C passes for your A levels, and you need to pass the admission test. Then there is the law college. Okay? Law college in Colombo. Here also A level results are relevant because you need to pass the A levels and there is the admission examination as well. So whatever the path you will choose for doing the law degree, you have to pass your A levels. Higher the passes you get, better. Okay, remember higher the passes you get, better. And in all of these local institutions, you can follow the clause, you can follow the courses in English medium. Okay, especially in Faculty of Law, the most prestigious one, which I attended. Uh, English medium is in very high demand. Okay, so those are things you need to remember. Then there are foreign degrees. Okay, these degrees, foreign degrees, they are offered by local institutions. Okay, they are offered by local institutions, but they are offered by local institutions, but the degrees awarded by foreign universities. Okay, and I think there is also KDU, Kottalavala Defense Academy, Defense University as well. So there are numerous paths you can choose to do law. The thing is, whatever the path, it is always better to score highest for your A level examination. Okay? that is the thing I wanted to tell you about. Why should you choose logic as a subject? Because it tends to give you the highest search score possible and puts you in the top bracket in the art stream. That is the requirement always. Let's say you are not expected to do law, but any other course in the Sri Lankan university or in a foreign university or in the open university, even that, even for that reason, it is always better to get the highest possible result. To get the highest possible result, the easier path is to do logic. By doing logic, you can always uh, get a higher search score and can put yourself in a higher bracket in the art stream. Uh, in the art stream, uh, that is the requirement and that is the expectation all the time of the student. Now, what I explained so far was why should you choose logic as a subject for your A-level examinations. That is the basic idea I provided. So I provided to you so far. Then let's see. Now I haven't even introduced myself, so I will provide you with a little bit of introduction about myself as well. My name is Channa Fernando. Uh, I now my qualifications, if I may mention my qualifications, I obtained 7 A passes and 2 B passes for my O level examinations. Uh, I obtained A passes for mathematics, science, English, history, Sinhala, Buddhism, and social studies. My 2B passes were for arts and commerce, accounting and commerce. For A levels, I obtained 3A passes uh, and my district rank was 5 and my island rank was 75 and my set score was 2.014 and I got admitted to the Faculty of Law, University of Colombo, and I did my law degree, LLB degree, law degree in English medium. Uh, as you may know, the number of students who are doing the law degree in the Faculty of Law in University of Colombo is very small. The number of students who are doing the law degree in the English medium. So I was one of them. Those are my qualifications. So uh, those are the information regarding me. Then I am going to provide you with a uh, brief overview of the subject. Now I will use my pen conservatively because it seems to me my pen is low on ink, but I hope you still can grasp what I say easily. So I will use my pen very limited manner, in a very limited manner, because even if I write, since my ink is tends to be low, there may be some visibility issues. So, um, a little overview of the uh, subject logic. Now, the complete name, even though we call it logic for short, the complete name of the subject is Logic and Scientific Method. Okay? Logic and Scientific Method. As you can see, uh, there are two components or two areas in this subject, that is logic, and the other one is scientific method. And the focus is also 50-50. So the focus given in the syllabus is 50% for logic and 50% for scientific method. In the examination paper also, the focus or the consideration is divided equally. So 50% of your questions will come from logic, other 50% will come from scientific method. So there are two papers at the examination. First one is the MCQ paper. We call it first paper. There you are given 50 MCQ, multiple choice questions, 50, and the time duration is 2 hours. Yeah, I can guarantee you 2 hours is more than enough. You will reserve or you will conserve more than half an hour there because uh, the time duration is very long. Uh, if you have studied well, you can do that most probably within an hour. Okay, so we will have time left as well. So 50 questions, 50 MCQ questions, and that 50 is multiplied by 2, and you get 100 marks for the first paper or the MCQ paper. Then there's the essay paper, which is 3 hours, and that essay paper is divided into three parts. Remember, essay paper, essay paper, we call that second paper, 3 hours, and the paper is divided into three parts. Part 1, okay? Part 2, part 3. Other thing I forgot to tell you was in the MCQ paper I told you there are 50 questions. Out of those 50 questions, 25 will be based on logic. Other 25 will be based on scientific method. Then we always see how the division, how the uh, proportionate nature of the two components are. Then part 1 contains only one question, and that question is compulsory. Okay, that question is compulsory. There are 10 short answering questions for which you have to provide answers in your answer script. First question, first part 1 contains only one question. That question is compulsory. It contains 10 short answering questions, and that is multiplied by 2, and you get 20. In part 3, and remember, out of these 10 questions, 5 are based on logic, 5 are based on scientific method. Then you have part 2, which contains 5 questions. Okay, part 2, which contains 5 questions, and part 3, which also contains 5 questions. Here, part 2, all the questions are based on logic. In part 3, all the questions are based on scientific method. Uh, From part 2 and 3, you need to choose 5 questions. So that means you either choose 3 from part 2 and 2 from part 3, or you choose 2 from part 2 and 3 from part 3. Whatever the combination you choose, it has to be either one of these. So the total number of questions you need to choose from part 2 and 3 are 5. Okay, you need to choose 5 questions. You need to choose 5 questions from part 2 and 3. 5 multiplied by 16, you get 80. So this 20 and this 80, you get 100. And for the MCQs, you get 100. That means this 100 and this 100. 200. That 200 is divided by 2 and you get the final mark. Okay, that is the nature of the examination paper. So this is the overview I wanted to provide you about logic and scientific method subject. Always remember there are two components. There are two components, and those two components are equally relevant, and I will guide you through both the components with the equal attention, because uh, both the components are relevant, and both the components the student should uh, thoroughly uh, rehearsed, should thoroughly uh, acclimatized, accustomed to these two components. Um, Other thing is uh, uh, these two components, and the other thing is uh, past papers. Okay, past papers. In my class, uh, I will provide you with extreme attention to the past papers, because it is only doing past papers you can grasp the requirements of the examination or any examination. So remember, now we are in a new syllabus cycle. Okay, this syllabus cycle started in 2019. So we have 2019 paper, 20 paper, 21 paper, and 22 paper. By the end of this year, we will have 23 paper as well. So you have 5 papers under the new syllabus, because the examinations began to uh, be conducted under the new syllabus in 2019. So when you do the examination in 2025, you will have the 2024 past paper as well. You will have 6 past papers under the new syllabus. So all those will be covered. Then under the previous syllabus, remember, there was a previous syllabus which extended from 2010 to 2018, again 8 years. All the 8 past papers under the previous syllabus will be covered. Then before 2010, there was another syllabus, and the relevant, not all, but all the relevant sections of the past papers of that syllabus will also be covered. So you will be fully covered with the relevant past papers when you face the examination. Those are the things you need to keep in your mind. I have so far explained to you, why should you choose law, so why should you choose logic as a subject, uh, the search for requirements and the relevance of search for and how it affects your examination. And why should you choose logic? Uh, because of the set score requirement, my qualifications, then the little overview of the subject, the examination papers, past papers, and all those things. In today's discussion, then we will move forward to a sample teaching. Okay. The reason I provide you with the sample teaching is so you can decide yourself whether my teaching methods are uh, good or bad, and decide for yourself whether to take a class or not. Okay. Remember that is why I provide you with the little teaching sample. Now, when it comes to your syllabus and your teacher's guides, logic and scientific method are also always neatly put into different chapters or different lessons. Okay, but in my class, I will first go through scientific method because it is the easiest part uh, of the subject. You can easily grasp. In scientific method, you only need to memorize the things. Uh, so the scientific method part we will do first. Uh, then we will move on to logic part, which involves little critical and mathematical thinking. Okay, little mathematical skill is required for logic. That's why actually logic we study under this subject is called mathematical logic. Okay, there are two types of logic that we will study. That is the traditional logic and the new mathematical or symbolic logic. Okay, so little mathematical skill is required for the logic part. That is something you don't need to worry. If you follow the guidelines I lay out for you, you are perfectly fine. Uh, so those are the things you need to remember. That for sample teaching today, I will be focusing on the first lesson in scientific method. Okay, for the sample teaching. Now, the relevance of sample teaching is that you can decide for yourself whether my teaching is okay or not and take the classes. That's why I provide you with this sample teaching. If we cannot conclude this chapter on sample teaching, I will provide you with another video as well, so you can get accustomed to acclimatize to my teaching methods. Okay, so the first subject, okay, the first component or the first content, the first chapter under scientific method, which we are going to provide you with little sample teaching, is scientific method or origin and development of scientific method. Okay, here's the topic. This is the first topic you will encounter under the syllabus. The origin and development, the origin and development of scientific method. Remember, this is a sample teaching. Okay, this is a sample teaching. You can So you can decide for yourself whether you take the class or not. And I am going to start this sample teaching on the first component under scientific method, or on the first chapter or the content under scientific method. So this discussion is based on scientific method, not logic. Okay, this is sample teaching. Now, as subjects, now I am talking about modern times. Okay, as subjects today, we study numerous subjects. Now, for O levels, remember you study mathematics, science, English, history, geography, like that. Okay, so there are numerous subjects that we encounter, that we study for studying purposes. Numerous subjects are there. So, how uh, these subjects began to be studied, or began to be evaluated, or began to be understood, what is the journey, or what is the chronological nature, or what is the origin of the numerous subjects. That is what we are going to talk about today. Remember, the science, let's say, subjects or disciplines we study or are studied are divided broadly into two categories. Those two categories are natural sciences and social sciences. Sciences, remember, sciences means subjects or disciplines. Okay. Under the category of natural sciences, the main one is physics. Then you have chemistry. Then you have biology. Then geology, astronomy, and some subjects that branched out from the major ones, like that. Under social sciences, you have political science, history, economics, philosophy, psychology, like that. Okay? So uh, we tend to study different and numerous subjects. But remember, when it comes to the start or the origin of these subjects, our story, okay, our story starts with Greek period. Okay, start with Greek period. Okay, Greek period. Now, if you become familiarity with the European history is required here. Now, when it comes to logic and scientific method, we always study the European aspect of the knowledge, and uh, if you study little further in your higher education, some Indian influence will also be met, Chinese as well. There are other influences to logic and scientific method other than the Western influence. Indian influence, Chinese influence, but mainly our focus for our study purposes is the Western influence. So when we discuss the historical circumstances, we always talk about um, European history or the Western history. Now, Western history or the European history is divided into three ages. First one is first one is ancient period. This regarding European history. Remember, this starts with generally with 8th century BC. BC means before Christ. 8th century BC to about 5th century AD. AD means Anno Domini. That means present era, the present chronological era, present timeline after the Christ. Um, then there is medieval period in the European history. There is medieval period, which starts from 5th century AD to last up to 15th century AD. Then there is modern period or modern history. Modern period, 15th century AD upwards. upwards. This is the chronological breakdown of the European history. European history. So European history generally started with thousand millennia BC or even before that. I'm not going to devolve further into history here. Let's generally say started with 8th century BC, and this ancient period lasted up to 5th century AD. To 5th century AD. Mainly here under the ancient period we talk about Greek history and Roman history. Okay, Greek period started with 8th century and lasted up to uh, first century AD. Then Roman history was a continuum or a continuation of the Greek traditions, and it lasted up to 5th century AD. It was in the 5th century the great Roman Empire collapsed. Okay, so we call this the classical period as well, ancient period as well. Remember, this was the classical age. Okay, classical age. In this era, especially in the Greek period, the rudimentary or more rudimentary uh, beginnings or more rudimentary formations of most of the ideas regarding different disciplines were laid out. That is something we need to remember. The most rudimentary, primitive ideas regarding most of the subjects or disciplines were laid down in the Greek period. For an example, let's say physics. Now, physics uh, as a subject independently uh, began to be developed in the uh, 15th or in the 15th century. But the primitive or the uh, basic or rudimentary ideas about physics were laid down in the Greek period, this ancient Greek period. Okay, ancient Greek period. Same is for chemistry. biology, and those subjects as well. Then, in the medieval period, European history went through a certain dumb down. Okay, certain dumb down. Uh, There was a dumb down or lowering of the standards during the medieval period. Okay? After the collapse of the Roman Empire, the classical ideas adhered in the ancient period were lost. That's why we call this medieval period the Dark Ages. Okay? Dark Ages. Then, starting with 15th century AD, during the modern era, starting with the modern era, we see a revival of subjects or disciplines, especially starting with the Renaissance. Renaissance. Renaissance is the revival or the yes revival of art, literature, and other disciplines in the 15th century. Okay, that is we associate Renaissance with the 15th century. It is the revival of art and literature of the 15th century is named by Renaissance. Okay? Starting with the Renaissance, we see a burgeoning, uh, uh, very rapid development of modern sciences. So here rudimentary ideas, okay, rudimentary or primitive ideas regarding most of the disciplines. By disciplines, I always mean subjects were laid down in this classical ancient Greek period, and then they were lost in the medieval period, and they were rediscovered and they were revived during the modern period. That is the basic understanding you will require about European history. Okay, about European history. Now, uh, still, even in the Greek period, I told you, even the ideas were formed, they were rudimentary. Okay, rudimentary and very primitive in nature. And all the ideas about all the subjects tend to come under the category called philosophy. Okay, philosophy. Okay? Philosophy. Now you know this is also a subject. Subject. Philosophy is also a subject, and all the ideas, okay, about other subjects came to be included in philosophy. So the rudimentary ideas about physics, they were included in philosophy. Rudimentary ideas of chemistry and biology, they were also included in philosophy during the Greek period. Okay, during the Greek period. Uh, so in Greek period, we didn't have real scientists or scientists. We had philosophers. Okay, during the Greek period, what we had were philosophers, not scientists. Everything about other subjects were studied under the umbrella of philosophy. Even for political science, same. Psychology, same. All these tend to be philosophical during the Greek period. Now, medieval period, the same traditions continue. But starting with the 15th century AD, starting with the Renaissance, starting with the scientific revolution we are going to discuss later, certain subjects began to be free from philosophy. Okay, they began to be free from philosophy. They began to be independently studied outside the scope of philosophy. What are such subjects? Physics. Okay, physics. Up to 15th century, physics was studied under the umbrella of philosophy. Same was chemistry. Remember, these two were the subjects that began to be formed first, especially physics. Out of all the disciplines that began to be independently developed outside the scope or umbrella of philosophy was physics. This is the first subject or the first discipline that began to be formed outside the umbrella or the scope of the philosophy was physics. Up to that point, all the subjects were studied under the umbrella of philosophy and they tended to be, their subject matter tended to be philosophical. Okay? So physics began to be independently evaluated or studied, starting with the 15th century AD. And then chemistry also began to be studied independently, free from the scope or umbrella of philosophy. They are associated with specific scientists. These developments, these novel developments are associated with specific scientists. Now, physics began to be independently studied and developed all, uh, mo- most accounts after Nicholas Copernicus. Nicholas Copernicus. I will provide you with his years, Copernicus years. Mm, I will provide you with his years. These are Copernicus years. Okay, Copernicus years. So, starting with Nicholas Copernicus, that physics began to be independently studied as a subject independent of philosophy. Then we have Kepler, Johannes Kepler. Then we have Galileo. Then we have Isaac Newton. It is physics began to be or culminated. Physics culminated as a separate branch of uh, sciences culminated with Isaac Newton. Okay, those things you need to understand here. Um, so you can see how historical circumstances were relevant for the origin and the development of disciplines of sciences or subjects. Previously, all of them were studied under the umbrella of philosophy. Then, starting with Copernicus, Kepler, Galileo, Newton, physics began to be formed as a separate subject. So did chemistry with uh, the foundations provided by Antoine Lavoisier. Okay, I will provide you with the names when we go further. What I wanted to show you here is how historical circumstances affect the beginning or the origin and the formation of the subject. Then, on the other hand, Other than the historical circumstances, sciences are found and developed under uh, utility aspect. Okay, under the circumstances of utility aspect. Utility. Okay, what is utility? Utility means how relevant, how practical, how useful actually, how useful they are. So we see the origin of physics and chemistry with the historical circumstances, and some subjects branched out from physics and chemistry because of the utility aspect, because of the usefulness of that subject to the humankind as well. Now, uh, as I already told you, physics as a subject, okay? Physics as a subject, physics as a subject began to be formed after the 15th century as a separate discipline. Now, uh, in the 20th century, we have seen other subjects branching out from this major subject, physics. Okay, other subjects branching out from physics. One such subject is microparticle physics. Okay? Microparticle physics. Microparticle physics. One subject that branched out from physics. Remember, this branched out microparticle physics branched out from physics in 20th century. The reason for this branch out was not historical circumstances but utility. Okay. Now physics branched out, or physics separated from philosophy because of historical circumstances. I will explain that further when the time arises. By historical, now I will explain it here. What I meant by historical circumstances was, now, as I told you, all the disciplines were studied under philosophy during the Greek period. Okay, and uh, during the Greek period, there was this Greek philosopher called Ptolemy, who came up with the geocentric theory. Okay? Geocentric theory. What it meant was that the Earth, geo mean earth, that the Earth is at the center of the universe. Okay, the Earth is at the center of the universe. All the planets, including the sun is not a planet, it's a star. All the planets and the sun orbit around the or orbit around the Earth uh, in celestial spheres. Okay, in celestial spheres. Celestial spheres. So if I may draw it for your easy understanding, here is Earth, and around Earth there are different celestial spheres. Remember, this is only a two-dimensional diagram, but consider it in your mind as a three-dimensional diagram. So, around Earth is also three-dimensional, and the celestial spheres are also three-dimensional. Now, in the first celestial sphere, their orbits Mercury. In the second one, Venus, uh, like that. Then there are nine spheres for nine planets, like that. And all the stars uh, orbit around the Earth in a different celestial sphere. That was the basic idea of geocentric theory. Earth is at the center of the universe. Uh, that was the other celestial bodies, planets and the Earth orbit around the Earth. That was the geocentric theory. This was uh, started with Ptolemy uh, and some others later contributed to it also. So while Ptolemy was giving foundations to the geocentric theory, some other philosophers in the Greek period also gave birth to the heliocentric theory as well. Okay? Heliocentric theory as well. Heliocentric theory. Helios means sun, remember? Helios Latin. Helios means sun. So, according to this heliocentric theory, it was not the Earth that was at the center of the solar system. It was the Helios or the Sun at the center of the solar system. All the planets, including the Earth, orbit around the Sun. This heliocentric theory was also put forward during the Greek period, but it didn't gain momentum. Remember, it didn't gain wider acceptance. Remember that it didn't gain wider acceptance. Um, then what happened was, now Greek period ended. Then uh, we see uh, the birth and the crucifixion of the Christ in the first century AD. Okay, and whole European continent was consumed by Christianity by 5th century AD. Okay, now when Europe was consumed by Christianity or Catholic dogmatic theory or Catholicism, they found this geocentric theory very appetizing because it suited Christian Catholic ideology. Because according to Christianity, the God created the universe and the earth, then created the man out of uh, a reborn of the man, created the woman. That's the biblical story goes. That's how the biblical story goes. So the focus in the biblical story or in the Catholic or Christian tradition is Earth. Geo is the center of the universe. It holds a specific significance other than other planets or other celestial spheres because because it is the living place of the humans. Because it is the place of the humans, Earth gains significance. Earth is more significant, important than other uh, planets and celestial bodies. Okay, according to Christianity, because it is anthro focus, anthro means man. The theory that was advanced by Christianity was an anthropocentristic theory. The theory focusing on humans because it is the living place of humans. The Earth must be the most important planet and it must be the center of the universe because it is the living place of the humans. Because, solely for this reason, Earth is important. All the other planets, even the Sun, orbit around the Earth in celestial spheres. And this also tied up or matched with the experience as well. Meaning this experience. This is a very important word you will encounter in scientific method, experience. What is meant by experience is what we gain through our senses or sensory organs. You know, there are five sensory organs in our body. Whatever the sensations we obtain from our senses or sensory organs, we call that experience. Okay, and this geocentric theory matched with the sensory experience uh, we tend to have because on mornings you see the rise of the sun, then in the evenings, in the evenings you see uh, sun going down. So it fitted, okay, it fitted with the geocentric theory. So one could easily see, ah, sun must be going around Earth. That's why it rises from east in the morning and goes down from the west in the evening. It fitted, and also the uh, changes in the planetary objects and stars that also actually matched with the geocentric theory because that's what we observe in the sky. We see the moving of the star patterns, then we see the moving of the planets. Remember, even by Greek period, people understood the difference between a star and a planet. Remember, there's a difference between a star and a planet. Even today, you can easily observe that stars blink. Okay? Stars blink, and the planets have a stable light. It doesn't blink; it has a stable light. That is how you identify a star or a planet. So you see the planets, you see the stars. Um, then the movement of planets in the sky, the movement of star patterns in the sky also matched with the geocentric theory. So it became accepted and it matched up with the Christian ideology or the ideology of the Catholic Church. So starting with the medieval period, it began to be upheld as the uh, hegemonic theory regarding uh, planetary objects and the place of the Earth in the universe and the solar system. Now, I told you already the rudimentary ideas of the heliocentric theory were also formed during the Greek times, but they were suppressed. They were not allowed to come into the program. Only the heliocentric theory began to be introduced freshly only after Nicholas Copernicus. I already gave his name. Nicholas Copernicus provided his heliocentric theory in the 15th century. It is, these are all very interesting factors and stories there. Now, Nicholas Copernicus didn't publish his publications regarding heliocentric theory during his lifetime. He made sure that his um, findings about heliocentric theory would be only published posthumously because he knew that his heliocentric theory is a direct confrontation with the highly accepted theory of geocentrism accepted by the Catholic Church. He knew he would run the ire, he would run the displeasure of the Catholic Church if uh, he published his heliocentric theory uh, while he was alive. That's why he made sure his publications or his heliocentric theory would be published posthumously after his death. It was such the circumstances were on these days uh, that intellectuals had to be very careful going against the accepted norms of the day because be an iconoclast. By an iconoclast, I mean someone who rejects uh, conventional wisdom or conventional ideas was something that has to be abhorred or that will be punished with uh, greater repercussions as experienced by Galileo Galilei. We will discuss all that in good times. Okay? What I wanted to show you was how the historical circumstances paved the way for the development of physics. So now this idea of planetary movement comes under the scope of physics. Okay, so the earlier theory was geocentrism, then uh, heliocentric theory was put forward by Nicholas Copernicus in the 15th century. Now today we all accept the validity of the heliocentric theory. No one today would say that Sun and other planets orbit around the Earth. Everyone agrees that uh, Sun is at the center of the solar system. All the planets, including the Earth, orbit around the Sun. That is the heliocentric theory. So even though the idea or the kind of sensation we get from the experience, from our sensory experience is different uh, from the actual thing with the efforts of Copernicus, Galileo, Kepler, uh, it was able to provide with the proper footing for the heliocentric theory. So you can see easily how the historical circumstances paved the way for the development of physics. Then after Nicholas Copernicus, Johannes Kepler, all these names I will discuss in the classes. Johannes Kepler, a Dutch uh, astronomer living in the 16th century, uh, he advanced the heliocentric theory. Okay? And Galileo uh, further advanced and established the heliocentric theory. And this Copernican revolution or the heliocentric theory was culminated after um, Isaac Newton uh, put forward his gravitational theory. It is that long story starting with the Greek period that provided the proper footing or that provided the foundation for the subject called physics. So you can see easily how historical circumstances paved the way for the development of the subject called physics. Chemistry is same. Now, rudimental ideas about chemistry were discussed during the Greek times. Then, during the medieval period, uh, these ideas, these classical ideas, got lost. But then, after Antoine Lavoisier, okay, who lived in the uh, who lived in the before Lavoisier, there are other persons as well, John Starr like that, Joseph Priestley like that. With the efforts of them, the modern chemistry as a subject began to be formed, especially after the introduction of the oxidation theory by Lavoisier, Antoine Lavoisier. Chemistry as a more distinct discipline began to be developed and began to be accepted universally also. So you can see how historical circumstances paved the way for the development of different sciences. On the other hand, utility. Now I was talking about microparticle physics. This branched out from physics only in the 20th century. Okay, 20th century. How you may know about these things from your O-level experience. Microparticle, the smallest particle according to atomic theory is the atom. That is the smallest particle that can be divided that can be divided. So, but in the 20th century, physicists began to understand there are subatomic particles as well. Subatomic particles. The atom contains further smaller particles. You already know they are protons, neutrons, and electrons. So that is the subject or the subject scope of uh, um, microparticle physics. In microparticle physics, we study about protons, neutrons, electrons, and their effects as well. So you can see how utility, okay, paved the way for the development of the science from the experience we gained in microparticle physics. Then from chemistry branch out another subject in the also in the 20th century called biochemistry. Okay, biochemistry. Now you can easily see these subjects branching out. This is a subject that has a great relevance to modern medicine, biochemistry. Now this is a subject that branched out from chemistry in the 20th century. And it is also a combination of both chemistry and biology as well. In the biology also you can see the branch out of subjects like microbiology, molecular biology. In the microbiology, uh, studies are made about bacteria, virus, fungi, like that. In molecular biology, the molecular aspects of biology are studied. Molecule means here certain smaller unit is made by molecule here. Now the importance of molecular science biology was felt during the COVID period because all the PCRs and all the tests um, about um, COVID virus or any other virus, those advancements were made because of the advancements or because of the beginnings made in molecular biology. Okay, so we can see uh, sciences branching out from biology like microbiology, molecular biology. All this has to do with utility. It is because these subjects are useful to humankind, they began to be branched out. So subjects branch out because of historical circumstances and because of utility as well. Now in the social, now I forgot to give you the description of natural sciences and social sciences. Natural sciences are the ones that are concerned with the natural or the physical world. Now, for an instance, physics is concerned with the forces about the physical world, especially the physical forces, physical energies, physical bodies. That's what is concerned in physics. In chemistry as well, what is concerned is chemical compositions, chemical compounds, chemical combinations like that. Uh, Physical aspects of chemistry. Okay, physical aspects of chemical compounds. What is concerned in chemistry. Uh, Geology, which studies about Earth. Uh, you can see that natural sciences study physical world. On the other hand, social sciences study about the human and the human behavior. This is the major difference between social sciences and natural sciences. Now, in that sense, political science studies the political behavior of the humans. Sociology, remember, sociology is only a subject under social sciences. Social sciences is one of the major divisions of sciences, natural sciences and social sciences. Sociology is only one subject under social sciences. So sociology studies about society and social problems. On the other hand, you have history, then psychology. All these things are studied under um, under social sciences because it studies humans and human behavior. Anthropology. Anthro means human. Okay, so in anthropology we study the customs of humans, primitive societies, human primitive human societies, and those sort of things. So you can see the difference between natural sciences and social sciences. Uh, then you can also see how social sciences also began to be branched out. Now, political science, for an example, began to be studied under economics in the 18th century. Only in the 19th century that political science branched out from economics and formed a separate subject. So you can see easily subjects are either originated and formed because of historical circumstances or because of utility. By utility, I mean the usefulness of that subject to humankind. Now you can easily see how microbiology and molecular biology are utilitarianly useful to the humans because the knowledge we gain in microbiology about virus, bacteria, fungi, we can use we can use those studies for the benefit of the humankind. Same thing regarding molecular biology. Advancements made in molecular biology are very helpful for discoveries regarding uh, human illnesses uh, and developing certain tests to to identify human uh, illnesses and also provide vaccinations against certain viruses and illnesses like that. Uh, there's a utilitarian usefulness in these subjects. And the other thing is, some subjects are abstract by nature. subject abstract by nature. That is something also we need to understand what is meant by abstract. Okay? What is meant by abstract? What is meant by abstract? What is meant by abstract is existing in thought or theory rather than matter or practice. Okay, existing in uh, thought or theory rather than matter or practice. So abstract means not practical, okay, not material, but only theoretical. Okay, that is what is meant by abstract. Now, the things we study tend to be some things, some subjects we study tend to be abstract. For an instance, mathematics, even logic, that is abstract. Because the things we study in mathematics and logic, they are not tangible, they cannot be touched, they are not material. Now in physics, what we study, there are some even some things we study in physics are abstract, but some things are material and practical. But in mathematics, what we study is entirely abstract. Even logic, what we study is entirely abstract. They are theoretical, not material or practical. Okay, that is something understand about different subjects. Some subjects are entirely abstract, and some subjects both contain abstract and material foundations as well. So, other thing is what we now remember. This is something you need to always Keep in mind that is physics was the first discipline or the subject or the science that was first uh, found, or that was first studied, that was first originated as a subject during the modern era. By modern era, I mean 15th century. The second one is chemistry, okay? Biology, then biology, geology, like that. Remember, there were ideas about physics, chemistry, and biology even in the ancient period, during the Greek period, but they were mainly studied under philosophy. They as separate distinct subjects, they were began to be formed or originated during the 15th century. This one was the first one. This one was the second one. Then social sciences like economics, political science, they began to be formed even later. That is something you need to keep in mind. Now in physics we study forces, energy, like that, energies and physical matters, like that. Now classic examples you know from um, O levels are three laws of motion by Isaac Newton. Then the gravitational theory by Isaac Newton. Then for chemistry, you will remember all the chemical experiments you did, like that. You can easily understand them. Then we need to know about a little bit of history as well. Already discussed about history, but something we need to understand here is that the rudimentary ideas about physics and chemistry and biology were also known during the Greek times. Those are apparent if we look at certain statements by some Greek philosophers. One is Thales. Now, this is a Greek philosopher. Other one is Heraclitus. Now, since they are Greek philosophers, you can guess their times. Okay? So we must have lived in the before Christ. Okay, here here are Thales times before Christ. Heraclitus. Okay, before Christ. Okay. So as I told you, uh, the most rudimentary ideas about physics were also contained in the ideas made by Greek philosophers. Two such philosophers are Thales. Thales said world is made of uh, water. Okay, world is made of water. Heraclitus said world is made of fire. Here, what we find is rudimentary ideas about physics or the physical world. You can easily see physical world. You can easily see the relevance of physics here because we are talking about two physical components, water and fire. This has great relevance regarding the four great elements concept that was familiar to both the Oriental world and the Western world. By Oriental, I mean Eastern tradition, Indian and Chinese tradition, Western, European tradition. Uh, Four great element tradition. Okay, four great element tradition. Four great element tradition. But you will understand it if I say the singular name, you will understand it better. Satara Maha Bhutayo Sankalpa. Okay? Satara Maha Bhutayo Sankalpa. Now, this was a concept that uh, had origins in both the Western and the Eastern tradition. uh, Indian tradition and said Satara Mahabhuta. So, who were the four great elements of Satara Mahabhuta? They were fire, water, uh, earth, and wind. Okay, those were the four great elements. It was thought that the physical world is made of these four great materials: fire, earth, wind, uh, and water. These were the four great elements. The physical world, including earth, was made of these four great elements. Now, actually, instead of earth, I should have said soil. Okay, soil, water, uh, fire, and wind. In Buddhist tradition and Hinduism, we call it Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu. Patavi means soil, Apo means uh, water, Tejo means fire, Vayu means Vayu means Vayu means wind. So you can see from tails you can see fire, from Heraclitus you can see water. It is this idea of four great elements that is mentioned by these Greek philosophers. So you can see easily they were thinking about physical world. They were talking about physics. These were rudimentary ideas about physics. As I told you, they were only primitive, rudimentary, not actual physics as we know today, but the primitive ideas. Then we have the most important name. That is, now we are talking little bit history here. That is the most important name. That is Aristotle. Okay? Aristotle. He lived from 384 BC to 322 BC. He was a man for all seasons, all matters. There was nothing Aristotle didn't talk about. He talked about everything. He talked about politics. He talked about psychology. He talked about philosophy, history, uh, physics, chemistry, biology. He talked about everything. This was the most important classical Greek philosopher. There are others like Socrates, Plato, but this one, the most important ones are Socrates and Plato and Aristotle. But this one, Aristotle, is the most important philosopher. Uh, he talked about everything. Now, if you do political science, you may know it was Aristotle who was the founder of uh, ancient or old political science, the father of ancient political science, Aristotle, the father of ancient political science. It was he who said every man is a political being. The desire to obtain political power is an inherent one in humans. And he wrote the book called Politics. Now, if you follow politics or if you study politics, you know Aristotle wrote a book called Politics, and he wrote a book called uh, Nicomachean Ethics. It was a book about ethics. Then uh, De Mundo by Aristotle. Uh, was a book about history. So he wrote about all the things. And he is the one most important for logic as well. Because what we learn under traditional logic, all the things we learn under traditional logic were put forward by or were first found by Aristotle. So when we study logic, what we study under the logic, especially under traditional logic or syllogisms or syllogistic logic and class logic, all those things were first put forward by Aristotle. So for logic also he is relevant. Now for our discussion here, all the Greek ideas, okay, about physics and chemistry and biology, all those things are summed up by Aristotle or put forward by Aristotle. Mm, and they, okay, these ideas about physics, chemistry put forward by Aristotle remain as the accepted ideas up to the end of medieval periods. Now you can see Aristotle lived in the ancient period. Then what happened was, uh, as I already told you, after the 5th century AD, up to that, Aristotle's ideas continued about physics and chemistry. Then there was a dumb down or lowering of standards during the medieval period, and with the influence of the Catholic Church, Aristotle's ideas were accepted as the norm of these times. Now, uh, the ideas put forward by Aristotle, they were accepted by the Catholic Church. That is something you need to understand. They were accepted by the Catholic Church. the ideas put forward by Aristotle. Now, Catholic Church gained prominence during the after the fifth, after the death of the Christ. So, by fifth century or sixth century, Aristotle's ideas were accepted and advanced by Catholic Church as the accepted norms of the day. So that was the position there. Remember, when it comes to Greek period, as I already told you, it was a classical period in the history. Greek uh, used um, experience as a basis of knowledge. Remember, experience. Those classical Greek philosophers used experience as a basis of knowledge. Now you know what experience is. Experience is what we gain from our senses. Okay, experience. But their main basis of knowledge was logic and religious beliefs. That was the reason because classical period was a very important period. Uh, Now, classical era actually intellectually was far superior to the medieval period. Okay, they even accepted experience as a basis of knowledge, but still their main bases were not experience, not what we gain from experience, but what we gain through logic and religious beliefs. Remember, um, the basis of modern science. Okay, the basis of modern science is experience, sensory experience. The basis of modern science is sensory experience. What the science is based on what is perceived by our senses. That is something you need to understand modern science. Okay, so we discussed about now the history, how the ideas advanced by Greek philosophers, especially summed up by Aristotle, uh, the, uh, actually lasted up to the 15th century, up to the end of the medieval period and into the beginning of the modern period as the accepted norms of the day. Okay, we discussed them. We will discuss further what were these norms, especially under Aristotle's regime. Heliocent- Geocentrism was accepted. Uh, that is the main thing that we need to understand. But now, starting with the 15th century, we see a different trend or we see a different inclination. That inclination is, or that different trend is the beginning of the scientific revolution. Okay, it's the beginning of the scientific revolution. Science or sciences went through a revolution started with the 15th century, especially after the so-called Renaissance. Now I told you what Renaissance was. Renaissance was the revival of art and literature in the 15th century. Now, starting with this Renaissance, now with the Renaissance, you associate people like Michelangelo, um, Leonardo da Vinci, like those. Okay, they were great uh, makers of art and sculpture and literature, like that. Then, starting with 15th century, starting with the modern age, we see a starting of the we see the starting of the scientific revolution. That means physics, chemistry, biology, those subjects, they were revolutionized. Now, up to that, there were only, up to the 15th century, about physics and chemistry were the ideas lastly put forward by Aristotle that were existing. Then, starting with the 15th century, we see the explosion of ideas in the areas of physics, especially physics being developed as a separate subject, chemistry being developed as a separate subject. So, in the 15th century, we see a scientific revolution, okay, starting with the 15th century. It is starting with the 15th century. We have Nicholas Copernicus. Then in the 16th century we have Kepler, Johannes Kepler. Then in the 16th century Galileo Galilei. Then all this culminated with Isaac Newton. It is that story that starting with the formation of the heliocentric theory, then Kepler's laws about planetary motion, then about uh, uh, Newton's gravitational theory, that our uh, story about modern physics ends. Okay, actually, that is the uh, turning point or the culmination of our story. Then, uh, beginning of the 15th century, okay, or at the end of the 15th century, in Europe, there were two, two traditions uh, by two different groups. Okay, at the beginning of the at the end of the 15th century, there were two traditions that were carried out by two groups. Those two groups were, on one hand, you had scholars. On the other hand, you had craftsmen. Okay, craftsmen. Now, at the end of the 15th century, there were two traditions that were being taken forward by these two groups, craftsmen on one hand and the scholars on other hand. Craftsmen were the ones who made different things. Now, example for craftsmen are blacksmith, goldsmith, mason, carpenter, such. Those are examples for craftsmen. And they were always making things, making different things. On the other hand, and the other thing was numerous new inventions or numerous different things were made by these craftsmen as well. Those were plough, Ploughh, plough, which is used to plough fields. Okay, actually, plough was discovered thousands of years ago by craftsmen. Then mariner's compass. Then printing press. Then gunpowder. All of these were and textile equipment. All of these were made by craftsmen. Okay, other than the usual mason, carpenter, these things were also made by craftsmen, especially gunpowder and printing press were made by the Chinese. So, on the other hand, we had scholars. Scholars were associated with universities that had formed in the 12th and 13th centuries. Now, remember, in Europe, uh, universities were formed by the 12th and 13th centuries, especially under the charters of different kings. Now, two such famous universities uh, started by royal charter were Oxford and Cambridge in England, formed in the 12th and 13th centuries. Then, on the other hand, in France there was Sorbonne University. In Italy there was Padua and Bologna University. All these were universities. The scholars were associated with universities. Uh, but remember, they are not still scientists in the modern sense. They were only scholars. And the other thing was, uh, their knowledge, actually, what they studied in these universities were limited to uh, theology and uh, philosophy. Okay, during the medieval period, what was studied in these universities were uh, philosophies and uh, religions based on logic. Okay, and the other thing was, as I already told you, uh, the rudimentary ideas put forward by Aristotle, or lastly summed up by Aristotle, were accepted by Catholic Church during the medieval period. One important Catholic uh, priest regarding this is Thomas Aquinas, who lived in the 13th century, who synthesized Aristotle's teachings with the dogma of the Catholic Church. Okay, he synthesized, mixed Aristotle's teachings and the dogma or the teachings of the Catholic Church during the 13th century. There were once previous also, there were previous persons also, but this is the important name, Thomas Aquinas. Now we know Aristotle believed in geocentrism. Now, according to uh, the synthesis of ideas of Aristotle and uh, Thomas Aquinas, the kind of uh, theory that was accepted and promoted by Catholic Church was also geocentric theory. So, according to this geocentric theory that was lastly synthesized by Catholic Church, uh, there was Earth at the middle of the universe. Okay, there was Earth at the middle of the universe. Around this Earth, in celestial spheres, take it into your mind in a three-dimensional manner. In celestial spheres, they are revolved or moved uh, other planets and the sun. Also, uh, in the last sphere, they are revolved stars also. So this was the geocentric theory that put forward by Aristotle and advanced by the Catholic Church during the medieval period. Uh, and the other thing was to further show the Catholic influence. These celestial spheres, which revolved around the Earth, were actually, according to the after the Aristotle's ideas were synthesized by Catholic Church, it was meant that the celestial spheres around the earth were actually moved by angels. Okay, you can clearly see the influence of the Catholic thinking here. So all the celestial spheres that revolved around the earth, these celestial spheres contain the planets and the sun and also the stars. They were moved by angels. Okay, you can clearly see the Catholic influence here. So you can easily see how the rudimentary ideas about physics that were carried out by Aristotle, then in the medieval period mixed up with the Catholic, think, Catholic thinking, and gave the way for the modern, sorry, for the medieval idea of the Earth and planetary motion. So you can easily see that. Then uh, there were others actually who opposed it as well. Okay, there were others who opposed this Revolt Catholic Church. Remember, always remember, geocentric theory was put forward by Ptolemy in the Greek period. It was accepted as one of the ideas of Aristotle, then advanced by Catholic Church. What was accepted, what was taken as the norm was what I mentioned previously about those celestial spheres regarding planetary motion. That was the position at the end of the medieval period. Then, but you can easily see the Catholic influence more and more when you take into consideration that the celestial spheres were revolved or moved by angels. So all these taken into consideration, you can clearly see the religious influence here. But there were ones who were opposed to this Catholic or Christian um, religious ideas as well, religious influence as well. One was such one was William of Ockham. He lived in the 13th century, William of Ockham. Now, for William of Ockham, he didn't require, he still believed, remember, he still believed geocentric theory, but for William to move those celestial spheres around Earth, he didn't require angels. Okay? He didn't require angels. He said that these celestial spheres around the Earth, these celestial spheres around the Earth were moved by a force. Remember, for him it was a force, not by the angels. Were revolved around the Earth or moved around the Earth by a force called impetus. By a force called impetus. So that was the uh, okay, that was the idea of William of Ockham. According to him, these celestial spheres were moved by a force, not by angels. You can here clearly see the rejection of the religious ideas of the Catholic Church here. Then, even if William of Ockham rejected the influence of the angels, even though he called that these celestial spheres around the earth were moved by a force called impetus, he did not base his knowledge on experience. Remember, he did not base his knowledge on experience. He came to this conclusion. Okay, he came to this conclusion that celestial spheres were moved by a force called for impetus. He came to this conclusion only through uh, only through taking logic, okay, only through taking reasoning as a uh, format, as a basis of knowledge, only through taking logic for reasoning as the basis of knowledge. He only thought, he only thought that these celestial spheres must be moved by a force called impetus. He didn't have any. empirical. Remember, empirical basis for his idea. He didn't have any empirical basis for his idea. Remember, these words are very important. Empirical. Empirical means based on experience, experiment, and observation, not on theory. Okay, that is what is meant by um, empirical, based on observation, experience, or experiment, not on theory. So, empirical means not theoretical, but based on observation, experience, and experiment. So, even if uh, William of Ockham came up with an idea of a force that was responsible for revolving the celestial spheres around the Earth, a force called impetus. He didn't come to that conclusion based on experience or empirical evidence. Okay, based on experience or empirical evidence. He didn't come to that conclusion by observing this force, by experiencing this force. If he only came to that conclusion only through reasoning, only through thinking. He just thought there must be such a force. Other than that, he didn't have any empirical basis, empirical data. He didn't have any, he didn't observe impetus, a force called impetus. So that is the problem here. Our modern knowledge is an empirical one, which is based on experience, observation, and experiment. Our modern knowledge is based on experience. So that is something we have to keep in our mind. uh, our modern knowledge is based on experience, but the knowledge in uh, medieval times and the Greek period, that was only based on reasoning or thinking. They just thought there must be something, okay, other than real experience, other than real data. Okay, so those are the things we need to understand when it comes to scientific method. So my lesson today is limited to uh, 3 hours. Our lesson is actually a sample lesson uh, by which you can decide whether to take the classes for that matter. So our So I provided with you with a little sample lesson, sample lecture. Uh, Actually, the real lectures are far more detailed, and they are provided in a piecemeal manner uh, with written uh, lessons, with written lectures. You will have to write down these things in a piecemeal manner. I just conducted the lesson today, but in the actual class, I will go through in a piecemeal manner. You will be provided with a note, and you will have to write down that note. Um, so that is how this class is proceeded. Uh, as again, I will I will again mention to you, if you want to take the classes or know information about the classes, please call this number. You can call or SMS, don't WhatsApp. And the classes are conducted via Zoom uh, for the moment. Uh, so this I will conclude this sample teaching, but I will I will take this lesson up to uh, the end of the first lesson, these sample teachings, so you can decide for yourself. So those videos will be uploaded. Those videos will be uploaded later. Uh, uh, concluding all the relevant lecture regarding the first chapter. So this is a sample lecture I provided for you uh, for your own verification, so you can decide to take the classes. Uh, this is not actually how the classes are conducted. They are conducted in a more piecemeal manner. Uh, you will be There will be breaks where you will be provided with the note. Uh, Today, since it is only a sample lecture, there were no breaks. Only note was not provided, so little different than this, and more information will be provided with relevant years and all those information and all the names. So those are the things I want to mention to you. So this is the introduction about logic for English medium students. If you are English medium student, you can decide for yourself whether to take logic as a subject and the relevance and all those information I provided you in the beginning of this lesson, in the beginning of this video, so you can see for yourself. And if there are students who want to take logic, uh, if you know anyone, pass the message as well. There is a single medium lesson uh, covering the same thing, single medium video covering the same thing. Also in my YouTube channel, you can uh, view that and listen to that also. So I will conclude for today, and I will carry out the sample lesson up to the end of that chapter. So you can decide for yourself. Please pass the message. So on that note, we will conclude for today, and we will meet up with another video.